powered by nuclear energy.
Hi, this is DJ Mondo, and welcome back to the Atomic Luau. If you've been following the saga of the Gemini PMX-20 performance mixer, my first 4-channel mixer for the Atomic Luau Labs that I'm going to be using here, you know that I have been doing my best to MIDI map this mixer to Native Instruments Traktor. It is not native to Native Instruments, no pun intended, and a lot of the controls here are not mapped. There is not a regular MIDI mapping file that comes from the Gemini company to map all of these controls to Native Instruments Traktor. But what I did find was that I could use the MIDI mapping from the Gemini PMX-10, which is a 2-channel mixer, and manually map the other 2 channels to Native Instruments Traktor. And I liked it. They don't really map the effects the way that I would map them, but that's not really a problem for me. So it's still going to take a little bit more experimentation to use this mixer with Native Instruments Traktor. But moving on in the saga, I have now moved on to MIDI mapping the PMX-20 to Ableton. And a lot of people use Ableton for, for DJ sets and things like that. I like to make essentially Ableton sets just to play loops and things like that. But now I'm looking at it as a serious DJ, seriously DJ software. But now that I can, now that I've learned to map MIDI CCs manually, I'm starting to see a whole lot of potential for using Ableton along with this as well. And so what I've done here, and I'm gonna just a quick tutorial here about what I've done so far. Let's open the preferences here. And one of the things is when you're mapping this mixer, you have to make sure that you have, that when you go into your preferences and into MIDI controls here and setting up the MIDI controls, you got to make sure that you have the track and the remote check boxes checked here. That will allow you to that will allow it for Ableton to receive MIDI CC from the mixer itself through the USB. And once that's on, you can, and my goal here now is to create 4 columns, so 4 tracks, and also to add EQ effects under those tracks, and then make them and then map them all to controls here on the mixer itself. And I must say that it's going pretty well so far. Basically, I've got these 2 first column tracks mapped here for a couple of functions here, but I want to show you what I've done so far. We've got the first track is highlight here. Now, I've changed a little bit of the layout here, but I'm doing the layout essentially that works for me. I've labeled, I'm going to label this one that's highlight, this track that's highlight as track 1 in Ableton. However, I've mapped it to the leftmost controller on this, the leftmost track on this controller on the PMX-20, which essentially is number 3, but I'm gonna map it physically the way that I want it to look in Ableton. So, and what I've done here is I've added some effects under here: high pass, low pass, and high, mid, and low pass filters, and what I'm using as an EQ here. But those have all been mapped to the dials on the Gemini controller here. So, for example, the low pass filter, the high filter is mapped to this output, and mid is mapped to this one, and low is mapped to that one, and also the EQ filter, the filter here is mapped to this one here. And basically I've mapped these dials to the output, the degree of output on each one. You can change the other granular parameters, but you're gonna have to go to the screen in order to do that. But definitely I'm seeing the potential here. And another thing that I've mapped here is if you want to switch tracks, you've got these track controls here, which controls tracks 3 and tracks 1 on them, and I've set those so that you can switch back and forth between the two tracks, and that'll come in handy later when I start mapping the effects and to the degree to which effect. And also it will come in handy when each of those cells, I'm going to map each of those cells that contain loops to these buttons down here, which are going to be my loop launchers. So you can go back and forth between the track, launch the loops from these buttons here, and 8 buttons total for 8 loops per track. And the easy thing about this is that all I have to do is to create the track, do the mappings here, and then copy the track over to the next track, and then just and remap the buttons, but all the parameters are going to remain the same. So so yeah, this is shaping up to be quite intriguing as to what I can do here. So let's say I map all 4 of these tracks here. I've also mapped the master output dial, which I'll show you that, which is this dial here, which is mapped to this here. I don't know if you can see it. There's that indicator right there. And also these sliders, these faders are mapped to these individual track knobs here. So yeah, I'm having a great time with this, creating this this template. And like I said, I want to create a basic 4 tracks here, but then I was thinking I could add another 2 tracks so that I could fire off one-shot samples, and that way, in order to DJ off of these loops, the only thing I would need would be this mixer, and along with this Launchpad Pro here, and it's a smaller setup, but still just as powerful as using maybe the Ableton the Push 2, which which you may not want to carry around. But still, I'm really liking the way this is going. Not bad for a guy who didn't know what he was doing with MIDI a week and a half ago, but I really am starting to see the potential of using of this MIDI mapping along with this mixer here. So wish me luck. If you have known anybody who has done this kind of setup before, or you've done it yourself, please give me any advice that you want to give me. Please give it to me in the comments below. But I'd definitely like to know if you guys have used a 4-channel mixer, how you use your 4-channel mixer with Ableton. You can disregard the loops that are in the cells there. I'm going to pull those out here, but I'm going to create this this template here, and I might even post it out there for anybody who might want to use it as well. But I'm still working on it, but it's been quite fun, and yet another reason to pick up this reasonably priced but professionally featured mixer, the Gemini PMX-20. And it is quite a good time here. But it's going to be fun mapping these effects as well. I think I have an idea of what I'm going to do with these effects here. But man, this has just been an excellent buy. But I can't recommend it enough. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if you know of any other uses for the anybody else who uses a 4-channel mixer with Ableton and how they use it and what mappings they use. So fun times. But thanks a lot.